All right, traders, today was another phenomenal green day and the green streak continues. With that being said, in this video, I'm going to be recapping the trades that I ended up making on SPY in the morning when SPY filled the gap, hit the previous closing price towards key resistance and started forming bearish candlesticks, bearish confirmations. I did end up buying put options very, very early in the morning towards the top. Sold way too soon on the dip to $434.50, making a little bit over a 20% profit return. Then I ended up buying the call options towards the lows, towards the dips, and I timed it very, very well. I'm going to be recapping those trades as well. So this video is going to teach you the technical strategies that we are using to consistently make money within the market to trade both ways. It's going to walk you through how to trade price action, how to trade the unique strategies. Today was another phenomenal day within Trader Society, and I'm going to be guiding you through the price action and the strategies. Towards the end of this video, I'm going to be giving you an updated price action analysis in terms of my new potential trading plans heading into the week, along with a couple stocks on my radar and my new potential trading plans with those stocks. So let's start off with the trade recap. If you watched my previous video on the SPY, you are well aware I said I was expecting SPY to be trading in a channel. And in terms of the channel early into this week, you would want to be focused on buying the put options towards key resistance levels, which was towards this 438 to 437 level. As I had mentioned within the watch list yesterday that was sent out at 9:03 p.m. within Trader Society. As you can see right here, in terms of SPY, I clearly stated, I believe we could be trading in a channel for the next few days. Then eventually, end of the week, so later into the week, we could see a run to $446.60. I still stand by that, and I'm going to be explaining to you why to fill that gap at 446.60. And then I said right here, once SPY can turn 438 into strong support, that's when that gap is going to start to fill. As of now, it's been reacting as resistance for a couple days in a row. And then I clearly stated, in the meantime, look for fake outs, look for resistance to form in between 437 to 438, because we're still early into the week. If this reacts as a resistance, we will see a crash to 435. If 435 cracks, we'll see 432. Well, I ended up playing the put options. Why did I end up playing the put options? Because it's the same strategy that we used yesterday to bank on the put options with SPY, the gap close reversal. You guys know from the previous video, I went over the strategy. SPY has the massive gap down towards the high end, the key end of the resistance channel. It fills the gap. It forms bearish candlesticks. It forms lower highs. It starts to pull back. It starts to form resistance. Buy the put options. Sell the profits on the key levels, on the dips, right? The key zones. With that being said, early into the morning, SPY ended up gapping down. As you can see, it had a little gap down right here. It shot back up. As soon as it filled the gap, you had bearish candlesticks coming in. It started to react as a resistance. It started breaking down. New lower highs, another massive breakdown. New lower highs, another massive breakdown. With that being said, I recognized the same strategy that I ended up using yesterday to bank on the SPY, and I took full advantage of that opportunity once again. As I had it clearly alerted, and this was streamed live as well, I'm going to give you guys a gift for those of you who are interested within Trader Society and you do want to get a feel in terms of like what are the live trading streams like. I'm going to leave a link in the description down below. It's going to be that second link. And that's where you can watch the recording of today's live trading session. If you want to see how we traded live in the morning, that's going to be the second link in the description. If you do want to, find out more information and join Trader Society, that's going to be that first link in the description. So you can see right here, I clearly alerted at 9:43 a.m. that I bought SPY puts, $4 strike. At $4, the strike was 436 March 2nd. And then shortly after that, just 14 minutes later, I sold for a quick 20% return. And then I sold some more for another quick 20% return. And then I sold the rest at 430, right? So very nice, quick 20% profits, obviously sold too soon. So in terms of that trade, the reason why I entered is because we're towards the higher end of the channel. And like I told you guys, in terms of this pattern that we see where SPY is the massive sell, SPY is the massive sell, it traded in a channel for 4 days straight. Every single time it hit the top of the channel, it started pulling back. Then on that fourth day, it started to break out. On the fifth day, it had the massive breakout. Right now, so this is the day where it had the massive pullback. We've been trading in a channel for 3 days straight. So we're still a little bit early. We're more in the middle of the channel, but still, it correlates where if you see it reacting as a resistance level towards this 438 to 437 zone, And the reason why I went with a lower resistance level is because of the gap fill. Once it filled the gap and showed signs of a reversal, see how it closes this gap. It's reacting as resistance, forming bearish pins, breaking down. These ovals that I'm going to draw are all key confirmations to be adding into spikes in terms of when you're buying put options. It's struggling, it's reacting as resistance, it's breaking down. That's where you want to buy some puts. Right here, it pops back up. It's forming new lower highs, failing to go back to the previous highs. Want to buy some puts right there. Right here, it has a quick spike, and you can see it fails to break out, new lower highs, add puts there. And then here, once again, it's just forming new lower highs. It's consistently failing to break out. Those are all confirmations right here as well. It's breaking down out of this 435 channel. Those are all confirmations to even consider adding into put options, right? So that was the whole, basic in terms of the basics of the strategy. In terms of key profit taking zones for the SPY, in terms of, key levels to lock in profits, 435 was a key level. The reality is if that reacts as a support level, the SPY is going to rip back up and try to go green, which means even though we got in towards the top, we'll be giving back all of our profits, right? So 435 is obviously a level of interest to just lock in some small profits. In terms of playing for the bigger side of the move, you can see if 435 cracks, you guys know the SPY goes to $433 to $431. So those are other levels of interest where you look to take off heavy size, 30-40% of your profits, right? So it's not an exact science, obviously. History can repeat itself, and it could go back to the low end of the channel like it did. That's not going to happen all the time. You always want to be locking in profits at key levels. And yesterday showed you that the key level was at 435, 433, and 431. Those were the key levels to be locking in profits. I ended up locking in profits at an average when it fell to 430, 450, making a 20% return. Obviously sold way too soon, but the point is my strategy got me in at the top, and it put me in the right direction. It put me in the right direction. It put me on the right side of the move for the day. With that being said, in terms of regrets of selling, these were all great sells because they were selling into the dip instead of into a big rip. I will say my last sell, I had 30% left. I sold it at 430. That was my lowest sell. I will say I do regret selling, that quick, the rest of my size at 430. And the reason why I do regret selling that in terms of, that play is because 435 cracked. It already pulled back to 433.50. It did end up ripping back up, and then I locked in more gains as it was ripping back up there. But the reason why I regret selling is I didn't let the trade fully play out in terms of the size that I had left. So I went in heavy, phenomenal entry. And when you're getting a phenomenal entry, you do want to let the trade play out, and you do want to aim for bigger targets, but you also want to take some size off at key levels. 435 is a key level, 433 a key level, and then if you're playing for the big win, you're looking at 431, right? So there's 3 levels to be taking in profits. But if you're getting a phenomenal entry, which I did, the entry was literally at the top of phenomenal entry, then you always want to leave some size on to ride and play for the bigger side of the move. If you're getting that phenomenal, amazing entry, it would be smart to leave 20 to 30% of your position to ride. And one of my regrets is I did not do that, and I got spooked out as it was spiking back up. In terms of confirmations to get back in, I did clearly state several times in the webinar, 435 reacts as a resistance, starts to break down right here. The SPY is going to be done. It's going to fall to 433 to 431. So in terms of one mistake I made there in terms of the puts was understanding that, there's 3 profit zones. There's a profit zone at 435. There's a profit zone at 433. There's a profit zone at 431. If I have a phenomenal entry, I'm going to have to aim for at least the middle, which is 433, the bare minimum, at least the middle, right? So I ended up locking in, like 66% of my profits on the dip to 434.50. And then I told myself, I'm just going to let the rest ride out. I set in alerts because I'm very bearish on the SPY, but once it started spiking, I got out. That's the mistake I made. So just keep in mind in terms of when you're playing puts, and just understand when you have that best entry and you see those rips, if anything, that's just an opportunity to add some small size or just to continue to hold and let the trade play out, right? But of course, you got to be locking in profits at key profit zones, which is what I was doing as well. But just understand, if you're getting phenomenal entries, that's an opportunity to play for the middle target, which is 433, or the more lower end target, the more greedier target, which is 431. In order to do that though, you need a phenomenal entry. And you have to understand, if you have that phenomenal entry, just let some ride. Just let like 20-30% of your position, just let it ride. And then, you lock in profits. You lock in the rest towards the key levels that aren't as high within the channel. So that's the recap in terms of the SPY puts. Now let's get into the calls, and then I'll give you my updated analysis. So in terms of the call options on the SPY, you can see right here, this was alerted at 2:17 p.m. that I bought SPY calls. I clearly stated within the watch list, I had this big idea that SPY was going to spike towards this 2:20 p.m. level. Like right here, SPY is forming the same pattern as yesterday. Refer back to where it bottomed at 2:20 p.m. and then it rallied hard. I believe we'll see a similar move around this time, waiting for strong consolidation confirmation to buy calls on the dip. And I did end up following through with that trade. And as you can see, it worked out fairly well. So at 2:17 p.m., I alerted that I bought SPY calls at $3.90. The strike was 429 March 2nd expiration. And then I sold 33%, 1/3 of the position at 2:30 p.m. at 470 from 390, which is a very nice 20% plus return. Then I ended up selling 2/3 shortly after that at 470, so the same exact sell. And then I was all out at 423. So you can kind of see my same sell was very similar to that same thing that happened with the puts where I just got out. With that being said, so why did I decide to buy the dip at 2:17 p.m.? And you could see at the time being, the low of day on SPY was literally at, this is crazy, the low of day candle right here, the low of day 1 minute candle at the time was at 2:17 p.m., which is the exact time that I sent out the alert and prepared way before that happened. Literally right here at 2:20 p.m. The plan was to buy the call options. And this was all clearly stated within the watch list section, within the alert section. And, the timing was spot on, exactly at 2:17 p.m. So why did I decide to buy calls? Literally on the 1 minute low of day candle for the time being, where this went from 427.93 all the way to $432. Why did I decide to do that? Obviously before selling off, but why did I decide to do that? I was studying the past. I was looking at the past trend on the SPY, and I noticed SPY gap down. It filled the gap. It had a reversal. It started to get crushed. And then right here at around, 2:30 p.m., at 2:25 p.m., 2:30 p.m., SPY started to bottom out. It was towards the lower end of the channel, and then it just ripped back up throughout the entire day. And you could see there was some similarities in terms of yesterday. We had the gap down, it filled the gap, it reacted as a resistance, and it started to get crushed. Then we traded towards the lower end of the channel, and you could see right here, this is a key support level, a key gap fill level at this 428.81 with big upside potential as well. And the timing was very similar. So when I see all of those similarities that I just explained to you come in, and then I see this very bullish, game-changing 1 minute candlestick, this is just screaming bullish. This move right here with the big volume spike, nice bottom wicks, nice consolidation coming in at this key 428 level. I mean, guys, the channel. Look at this. The low of this channel is literally towards 428. It was an absolute gift. So when I see that bullish confirmation, I'm buying calls. That's what I'm doing towards the low end of the channel. I'm not buying calls right here at 432. I'm not buying calls right here at 435. I'm not buying calls at a sucker at 437 in the morning. I'm buying calls right here, literally at 2:17 p.m. And then ever since that, it had very nice moves here. Obviously, there was some pullbacks along the way. But with that being said, that was a great trade. And like I said, I wrote it from 390 to 470 to 470. And then the last sell was at 423. Then I ended up entering SPY calls at $3.70, got an even lower entry. So not only did I sell for profits, but I ended up re-entering calls once again, and that was at 3 p.m. And then at 3 p.m., let's go to 3 p.m. now. Why did I decide to buy call options at 3 p.m.? So 3 p.m., you could see, where's 3 p.m.? It's literally right here. See how as soon as I'm buying, SPY literally rips like crazy? This was my buy alert. It rips. This was my next buy alert. It rips, right? So it's having these very nice micro rips, and I showed you how I was able to identify that. So in terms of why did I decide to buy the dip right here shortly after my last sell? The reason why is, look at the channel. The channel is right here. It's at $429.40. You see this micro channel at 429.40. SPY just ripped all the way to 431.30, and it pulls back. And if it turns that previous resistance, that previous high of the channel into support, it is going to break out. It is going to run. And that's what happened. It ran all the way to 432. And I sold half of my position. This was another phenomenal sell right here at 3:08 p.m. I sold half at 480 for my entry at 370. And you could see at 3:08 p.m. exactly where I sold half, which was right here, literally the highs. Ever since that occurred, it just started getting crushed. And with that being said, from there, I didn't trade it 100% perfect, but I did manage to sell half there. You could see in terms of, what I ended up doing towards the end of the day. I did end up adding, so, my average was $3.70. I sold half at 480, and then I started to add more on the dip. I started to add at 385. I added more at 365, and then I added more at 355. And then as soon as 429.40 cracked, I got out at $3.45. So I gave back some profit in terms of, that second trade. But for the most part, I'm 3 for 3, and it was, a phenomenal day in terms of, micro trading the SPY both ways. And with that being said, you guys you have to understand that 429.40 is a key level. If this breaks down and reacts as a resistance, I'm selling no matter what. I'm getting out of my calls. I'm selling no matter what. That's my max risk. If 429.40, see this 429.40, once it reacts as support and I buy into the bullish pin, same confirmation I showed you earlier, right? If that starts to crack, break down, react as a resistance, instead of having that big upside move like this, it's going to have that big downside move. So you got to get out of the calls, cut your losses, and then you move on from there. And then you look to get back in. One of the reasons why I was adding into the close on that, trade was I was kind of expecting a stronger close on the SPY. You could see right here at 3:40 p.m. yesterday. SPY had a very nice pullback, and then it bottomed at 3:40 p.m. and then it ripped massively. And you could see it had a very similar move. It's just the timing was a little bit off. It ended up bottoming at 3:50 p.m., but you could even see the candlesticks are nearly identical. Look at this candlestick right here. This is at 3:40 p.m. towards the lower end of the channel. And then SPY has this massive crash, very similar candlestick. And then it just rips. And this was at 3:50 p.m. And it did have that massive rip. It did have that massive move I was expecting. It's just the timing was a little bit off. But I did recognize in terms of profit taking, I did a good job of recognizing to sell in the rips, which is why I sold half at 3:08 p.m. So that's what I ended up doing right in terms of that second trade. Overall, today was a phenomenal trade. I really like how my trading is improving in terms of the entries. In terms of exits, my exit, like I said, I explained to you the regrets in terms of my exit on the last sell for the SPY put. Obviously, not fully maximizing the win on the SPY put had some influence of me trying to be more patient with my call options, aiming for that bigger win, because I saw, what happened in terms of when I had the puts. The entry was phenomenal. And if I would have just held more, it could have made such a bigger percentage, like at least a 55% plus return, right? So that had some influence to do with it as well. But I was also confident in the situation. But guys, one thing you do have to understand is in terms of like these moves, SPY can close anywhere. So at the end of the day, there's key levels where you do have to take profits no matter what. And if you're looking at this 5-day, 5-minute chart, you could see this is strong support. 431 is strong support with big upside potential. Well, guess what? Today it cracked 431 and it went all the way to 428 before we bought the dip. So what that means is, if you're in on calls and you see this previous support reacting as resistance, like it did right here, those are all confirmations to lock in profits. It gets to a point where, like I said, there's typically going to be 2 to 3 levels where you want to lock in profits. So in terms of like, if you bought calls, the first level would be towards like 431. The second level would be towards 432. And the third level would be towards 434. Those are your levels. Now, in terms of profit taking, you're looking to take out most of the profit in the middle. That's where you're looking to take out most of the profit in the middle and on the first entry. In terms of small size, letting some ride, do it on the third. In terms of playing for that big win, that big move, that's just like for some little size. And if you're not playing for some little size, you're aiming for a big win with your full size, then in most situations, you are going to end up giving back all of your profit, and even worse, going red if you don't cut your losses. For example, if I didn't cut my losses on this SPY, and as soon as it cracked 429.40 and didn't cut my losses, those contracts, I would have held through probably another quick 20-25% loss on those. So when a key level is, when you're trading at the key best level possible and it's going against you, you get out. And then once it starts looking in your favor again, you get back in. Take the small L and then wait for a better confirmation, get back in, and you'll make it all back and more, right? That's how you got to trade these. You got to understand, we're trading at the best prices possible. If they're not working in our favor at these prices, then we're stepping out, because instead of that huge move we're looking for, it's going to go against us, right? So keep that in mind. But always lock, when you're buying calls and you see these big rips, lock in the profits, lock in some profits. Like when I say lock in some profits, like 33% to 50%, right? If you're trying to aim for the big win, you really shouldn't be doing that with like big size. You should only be doing that with like 20% of what you have in. So like if you have $1,000 in the trade, you should only be holding on like $200, $300 for the big win. And then the rest is for, the middle of the channel, ideally, and then the first target. So just keep that in mind, guys. You got to be selling into these rips when you're buying into the dips. Buy into the fear, buy into the dips, buy into the fear, buy into the dips at the key levels, and then sell into the rips. Don't do it the other way around. Same thing with SPY in terms of the SPY puts. I'm not buying SPY puts at these key breakdown levels hoping for a small little pullback. I'm buying SPY puts at the top end of the channel when the gap fills, right? So the entries are spot on. Just got to work on the selling a little bit better. But I'm very satisfied in terms of my entries today. And overall, I'm improving drastically with these entries, especially. So with that being said, in terms of further updates for the SPY, I think we're seeing something very, very similar. Where again, SPY has this massive sell-off. We're trading in a channel. Right? We're trading in a channel. What is the channel? 428 to 438. Think of it as like a 10-point channel. We're going back and forth. Puts at 438, calls at 428. It's that simple. Those are the best prices. Those are the key levels. Now, in terms of further updates, I'm still bullish on the SPY. I think it's going to be coming back towards the higher end of the channel within some time. It could take some time. This is a very good sign that we're seeing some history repeat itself. And with that being said, we're just going to have to really see how it reacts. It closed at 430. So if it gaps up tomorrow, I'm going to wait for it to fill the gap. If we see some support come in at that gap fill level at 430, then I'll look to buy the dip. If it cracks through, then I'll wait till 427. And in terms of puts, we're just going to have to wait towards like 430, 436, ideally 436, 437. So yeah, we'll see. Either way though, I think the SPY is going to be on track to head back to the higher end of the channel. I do think in terms of this pattern that we're seeing, I think we're seeing a lot of similarities. SPY's looking very bearish right here. It's faking out. And then all of a sudden has this nice green day and then it rips. Once the SPY can get a nice green day on the daily candle, which will either come, I believe, either tomorrow or Thursday, once we see that nice green candle, that's when I believe we're going to start to see a breakout the next day, right? So we get a nice green candle like this towards the low end of the channel. That's when I think the next day will start to break out, which could be a swing trading call opportunity. So that's kind of what I'm looking towards. Like I said, once we can see 438 breakout and react to support, after a nice green day prior, that's when the SPY is really going to run. So pay attention to this pattern that I'm looking at right here, because you can see there's a lot of similarities if you compare the two. So that's kind of my thoughts on the SPY. A couple stocks I'm looking at, Tesla, there's a gap to fill at right here, 320, 339. Once it fills the gap, I'm bearish. I'm expecting it to pull back. I'm expecting it to crash. So I'll look for bearish confirmations towards there, play it on the puts, big downside potential. Dunking DraftKings is setting up for a potential put. We're approaching some key resistance. This is a very bearish candlestick on the daily. If we can see this go red tomorrow, if we can see 2960s react as a resistance level, I'll look to buy put options on Dunkin'. That's going to be a great play. In terms of stocks, that's mainly what I'm looking at right now. I have some interest in Dunkin', and have some interest in Tesla, along with the other price alerts that I have set. The watch list was fairly on point in terms of the watch list today. There was a lot of good opportunities. I mean, SPY was so on point. OCGN had the breakout. MULN, this was phenomenal, on track to have a first big red day prior to running up 145% and filling the gap from 173. It's in the process of a gap close reversal, very bearish. Consider March 18th put options, $1 out of money strike. My target is 130. This was stated the day before when it was in the 170s. And I clearly stated the best price to buy puts to short the stock is going to be if 169 reacts as a resistance level for the key breakdown to head at 160. And you could see, MULN, what did it do? As soon as it turned 169 into resistance and cracked 160 at market open, it was nothing but downhill and it went to $1.03. That's what my strategy can really do for you. It gets you in at the best prices. It tells you when to lock in your profits. This was a classic gap close reversal setup. Recently used the same setup with IRNT, planning for the gap to fill, planning to use the same setup on OCGN. Planning to use the same setup. We use the same strategy on SPY today, planning to use it on Lucid. When Lucid goes to 29, look to buy the puts. When Tesla goes to 923, there's going to be some phenomenal plays coming up. Make sure you're laser focused within chat, guys. We're going to continue to kill it. We're going to continue to crush it. That's what's on my radar. You guys know the game plan moving forward. I'm going to keep you updated. I'm going to work on another, more updated watch list in terms of tonight to market open. Keep you guys updated like I always do within the chat. Big shout out to the same people consistently killing it. Nice job, Paul. Happy birthday as well. Nice job, Bobby. 20% return on the SPY puts. I believe you did well in the calls as well. Nice job. Very nice job making a quick 30. Oh, total return was 90%. Very nicely done on that. That was the RSX option. Very nice. My guy is killing it. He may have surpassed 600K. I'm not sure yet. But 3 weeks ago, he said he had 90K in his account. He's on track to surpass 600K. 57K profit on the SPY, put options on futures trading. My guy Python's absolutely crushing it with the SPY puts. His account is up 325%, 5.1K, over 23 times the cost of Trader Society, I believe that is. Yeah, over 23 times the cost. Absolutely crushing it in the past week. Keep up the good work, man. $500 profit, very, very nice. Casper, my guy, $2,000 profit. Slap, consistently killing it, $2,000 profit. My guy again, MULN, playing MULN, ended up making $1,800 profit. So yeah, let's keep doing it. Let's keep crushing it. If you are interested within Trader Society, I'm telling you guys, we've been on a hot streak. We've already started off the month, like I said we would, to a very, very nice green start. With that being said, if you do want to be a part of Trader Society, it's going to be the first link down below in the description. It's going to explain to you everything that's included within the program. It is a one-time fee, and you do get lifetime access to everything within the program, such as live trading. You get to trade live with me every single day at market open via webinar. You get to ask me questions live on spot. You also get lifetime access to the chat room, lifetime access to the education suite, the video lesson library, the webinar archival, where you get to learn the trading system, learn the trading strategies such as the gap method, the risk management, and the psychology to trading, the mindset, right? So you get to learn all the price action, all the technical strategies, all the confirmations we use, all the indicators, the charts, the platforms, the brokers. Everything that I do is within this video lesson library, right? So you get access to the education suite. You get access to all the recordings of all the webinars we do as well. If you can't attend them live, you can go back and rewatch them. You also get access to one-on-one direct messaging. So if you are interested, the daily watch list as well, there's so much to it. Daily stock analysis, daily watch list, the real-time trade alerts, there's so much more to it. If you really want to learn how to trade the best setups at the best prices, I would strongly encourage you to join the program, because guys, I'm telling you, this gap method, these simple gap trading strategies that we're using, they're simple, they're highly effective, they'll get you in at the best entries, and they work. And it's a simple strategy where you can consistently make, very, very nice returns just by making like 2 to 3 simple trades per week. So if you do want to learn more about it, it's going to be the first link down below in the description. If you want to watch the live trading session that we had today, that's going to be the second link in the description. I will see you guys tomorrow live at market open. For those of you within the chat, I will be in the chat, throughout the night, answering questions and, making more watch list stock analysis throughout the night and throughout the morning. I'll keep you guys updated. Thank you so much for investing into your education.